They say love means knowing your partner inside out. You memorize their coffee order, the way they fold their socks, the sound of their footsteps coming home. You think you've mapped every corner of their soul. But what happens when the person sleeping beside you every night has been living an entire life you never imagined? What happens when the man you married, the father of your child, the one who knows your deepest fears, has been keeping a secret so profound it changes everything you thought was real? My name is Samantha, and this is the story of how I discovered my husband wasn't having an affair. He wasn't gambling our savings away. He wasn't doing anything I could have predicted. He was living as someone entirely different on weekends. Before we dive into this journey, please hit that subscribe button and join the Gender Diary family. We share heartfelt stories about discovery, transformation, and the complicated beauty of love. Drop your country and the time where you're watching from in the comments below. I love knowing where our stories reach across the world. And please, stay with me until the end. Because this story, it doesn't go where you think it will. Every moment matters. Every revelation builds to something I'm still trying to understand myself. Let me take you back to the beginning. Back when everything made sense. I met Paul 7 years ago at a friend's summer picnic. I remember the day perfectly. One of those golden afternoons where the sun feels like honey on your skin and laughter comes easy. The portable speaker had died, and everyone was standing around awkwardly, when this man I'd never seen before started tinkering with the wires. 5 minutes later, music flooded the backyard again. He looked up, caught my eye, and grinned. "I'm better with electronics than small talk," he said. "But I'm willing to work on both." I laughed. And just like that, I was pulled into his orbit. Paul was steady. That's the word I always used for him. In a world that felt chaotic and overwhelming, he was my constant. He had this quiet confidence, this gentle way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room. He wasn't flashy or loud, he was just present. Our chemistry wasn't explosive. It was gravitational. It pulled us together naturally, inevitably. We moved in together after 8 months, got married a year later in a small ceremony surrounded by people who loved us. And then came Isabella, our daughter. Our tiny light. She had Paul's eyes and my stubborn streak, and watching him become a father was like watching someone discover a part of themselves they didn't know existed. He was patient with her in ways I never expected. Gentle. Attentive. He'd spend hours building elaborate blanket forts, reading her the same bedtime story 12 times because she insisted. I thought I knew every part of him. The way he drummed his fingers when he was thinking. The way his eyes would dim slightly before a long workday. The way he'd wrap his arms around me from behind when I was cooking and rest his chin on my shoulder. I thought I knew him completely. But I didn't know about this. It started with something small. Something so innocent the first almost missed it entirely. A number on a bank statement. 3 digits that would unravel the entire fabric of my understanding. I'm not usually the one who handles our finances. Paul always took care of the bills, the accounts, the boring administrative stuff that made my eyes glaze over. I trusted him completely. Why wouldn't I? But one afternoon, while Isabella was napping and I was meal planning for the week, I decided to check our joint account. Not because I suspected anything, just to have a better sense of where we stood. To be more aware, more present in that part of our partnership. I logged in, scrolled through the usual suspects. Groceries, utilities, Isabella's daycare, streaming services. And then I saw it. A recurring payment to something called Weekend Haven membership. The amount wasn't huge. Maybe $150 every month. But it was steady, consistent. And I'd never heard of it. My stomach did this strange flip. Not quite panic, not quite anger, something closer to disorientation. Like when you miss a step going downstairs and your body jolts, trying to recalibrate. Weekend Haven. What was that, a gym? Some kind of professional networking thing? I kept staring at the screen, scrolling back through months of statements. The payments went back almost 2 years. 2 years of something I knew nothing about. We shared everything. Passwords, plans, parenting duties, dreams. The mundane and the meaningful. Why would he hide this? That evening, after Isabella was in bed, I brought it up. I tried to be casual, non-accusatory. Hey, I was looking at our account today and saw something called Weekend Haven? What's that? The change in his expression was instant. Not guilt. Exactly. Something more complicated. His shoulders tensed. He looked away, smiled this tight smile that didn't reach his eyes. Oh, that. It's just this guy's weekend club thing. You know, sports and beers. Nothing special. Just a place to decompress. He said it so smoothly, so practiced, like he'd prepared this answer in advance. Why haven't you mentioned it before? He shrugged. I don't know. It's boring. Just guy stuff. Nothing you'd be interested in. And then he changed the subject. Asked about my day. Started talking about something Isabella had done. I let it go. But even as I nodded and responded and moved on, something felt wrong. It wasn't his words. It was the tone underneath them. He wasn't speaking with guilt, he was speaking with fear. And I couldn't stop thinking about what he might be afraid of. Weeks passed. I tried to forget about the transaction, tried to trust his explanation. But once you've seen a crack in something you thought was solid, you can't unsee it. Your eyes keep returning to it, tracing its edges, wondering how deep it goes. I didn't snoop. That's not who I am. I trusted Paul. I'd built my entire adult life on that trust. But then came the afternoon that changed everything. Isabella had been playing games on her tablet, and it had frozen. She brought it to me, frustrated. Mommy, fix it! I was trying to force quit the app when I noticed Paul's phone sitting next to mine on the coffee table. He'd gone to take a shower, his screen was still lit, and there was a notification. A photo backup alert for a deleted folder. I'm not proud of what I did next. But I picked up his phone. I knew his passcode, we'd always had each other's, and opened the deleted photos folder. Most of it was junk, screenshots of receipts, blurry pictures he'd meant to delete. But one image caught my eye, half recovered, still loading. And then it fully appeared. It was Paul. In a bikini. Standing on what looked like a beach or pool deck, sunlight streaming behind him, one hand on his hip. He was laughing. Actually laughing. This full, radiant smile I'd seen maybe a handful of times in 7 years. But it wasn't just the bikini. It was everything. The posture. The confidence. The way he held himself loose, free, completely at ease. For a fraction of a second, my brain insisted it was someone else. Had to be. Because this person in the photo seemed so different from the man I knew. This person looked alive in a way I'd never witnessed. But it was him. Unmistakably him. I stared at that photo for what felt like hours but was probably only 30 seconds. My heart was hammering. My hands were shaking. I closed the app, put his phone down exactly where I'd found it, and walked into the kitchen. I didn't know what I was feeling. Anger? No betrayal? Not quite. Confusion? Absolutely. But underneath all of that was something else. Something I couldn't name. Curiosity. Was this a joke? Some kind of dare or bachelor party prank I hadn't heard about? But the photo looked recent. And he deleted it, which meant it mattered. It meant something. I decided not to confront him, not yet. I needed to understand first. I needed context. So I started paying attention. Really paying attention. And once I started looking, I saw things I'd been blind to before. The way he packed for his work weekends, always more carefully than necessary. The faint scent of perfume I'd catch on his clothes sometimes when he came home, floral and expensive, nothing like my own. The colorful fabrics I'd glimpse folded neatly in the bottom of his overnight bag. Clothes I'd never seen him wear, clothes I'd certainly never bought. Each small observation added to a picture I couldn't yet see clearly. Like trying to assemble a puzzle when you don't know what the final image is supposed to be. And then came the weekend that would bring everything into focus. The weekend I decided to follow him. Paul told me he had a 2-day contract job out of town. Some electrical work for a commercial client. He'd be leaving Friday evening, back Sunday afternoon. I smiled, kissed him goodbye, told him to drive safely, and then I packed Isabella off to my mother's house. Told her I needed a weekend to myself, to catch up on rest, She was thrilled to have granddaughter time. I'm not the kind of person who follows people. I'm not suspicious by nature. I believe in communication, in trust, in giving people the benefit of the doubt, but I couldn't shake the feeling that everything I thought I knew was wrong. That there was this entire dimension to my husband's life existing parallel to ours, and I was stumbling around in the dark, trying to understand. So Friday evening, I waited in my car down the street from our house. When Paul pulled out of the driveway, I followed. My hands were sweating on the steering wheel. My heart was racing so fast I thought I might be sick. Every instinct told me to turn around, go home, trust him. But I couldn't. I needed to know. The drive took about 40 minutes. He headed toward the outskirts of town, away from the commercial districts where his work usually took him. The neighborhoods grew quieter, more secluded. Trees lined the streets. Houses were spaced further apart. Finally, he turned into a small parking lot beside a building I'd never noticed before. It looked like an old community center, renovated. Warm light glowed from the windows. A small sign by the door read Weekend Haven. I parked 3 blocks away, watched as Paul got out of his car, grabbed a duffel bag from the trunk, and walked toward the entrance. He paused at the door, glanced around. My breath caught, and then disappeared inside. I sat there for 2 hours, just watching, trying to build up the courage to get closer, trying to decide if I was making a terrible mistake. Cars came and went. People arrived, some alone, some in pairs. All carrying bags, all looking, I don't know, excited? Relieved? Like they were arriving somewhere they belonged. Finally, as the sun began to set and golden light painted everything in warm tones, I got out of my car. My legs felt like water. Every step toward that building felt like walking through quicksand. I crept around the side, found a window with curtains slightly parted, and I looked inside. That's when I saw her. The scene inside wasn't what I expected. I think part of me had prepared for something seedy, something dark. I don't know why. Maybe because secrets always feel illicit, even when they're not. Maybe because I'd built this up in my mind as something shameful. But what I saw was beautiful. It was a large, warmly lit room with comfortable furniture arranged in casual groupings. Soft music played, something jazzy and light. There were maybe 15 or 20 people scattered around, talking, laughing, playing cards at a table, browsing through racks of clothing along one wall. And they were all, how do I describe this? They were all presenting as feminine, some in elegant dresses, some in casual skirts and blouses, some with full makeup and styled hair, some more understated. But everyone looked joyful, relaxed, like they'd shed some heavy coat they'd been carrying and could finally breathe. I scanned the room, looking for Paul. And then I found her. He was standing near the center of the room, mid-conversation with 2 other people. And he was transformed. He wore a royal blue fitted blouse that I would have picked out for myself. Sophisticated, flattering. A red polka dot miniskirt with a playful peplum that gave him this wonderful silhouette. Black high heels that somehow made his legs look endless and graceful. But it wasn't just the clothes. It was the way he wore them. The confidence. The radiance. He was gesturing as he talked, animated in a way I rarely saw at home. He threw his head back and laughed at something someone said, and the sound carried through the window. Pure, unguarded joy. This wasn't someone playing dress-up. This wasn't someone uncomfortable or ashamed. This was someone finally, completely themselves. My heart... I don't even know how to describe what my heart did. It didn't break, it didn't harden, it just stumbled. Like it had to recalibrate everything it thought it knew. About love, about identity, about the person I'd built a life with. He wasn't cheating on me. There was no other woman, no betrayal in the way I'd imagined. He was escaping into himself, into this version of himself he couldn't be anywhere else. I stood there, pressed against the building, tears streaming down my face. I wasn't sure if I was crying from shock or sadness or something else entirely. Maybe all of it, maybe none of it. And then, before I could think about what I was doing, I walked around to the front door, opened it, stepped inside. The music wrapped around me, the warmth of the room, the scent of perfume and fabric softener, and something cooking in a back kitchen. Several people looked up, smiled politely, probably assuming I was new, that I belonged there. And then I saw Paul see me. Our eyes locked across the room. His face went through about 5 expressions in 2 seconds. Confusion, recognition, absolute terror, shame, and something that looked like surrender. Like he'd been waiting for this moment, dreading it, and now it was finally here. The room seemed to fall away. All the other people, the music, the warmth, it all faded into white noise. We stood there, frozen, 10 feet apart. I opened my mouth, closed it, couldn't find words. He took a small step forward. His hand came up as if to reach for me, then dropped. "Sam," he started. I turned around, walked back out the door, got in my car, and drove away. I don't remember the drive home. My body was on autopilot. My mind was a hurricane. I thought I'd feel anger. I thought I'd feel betrayed, lied to, deceived. But what I felt was something I couldn't name, something so complicated it didn't have words yet. Paul came home around midnight. I heard his key in the lock. Heard his footsteps in the entryway, hesitant, uncertain. Heard him pause outside the bedroom door. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, still fully dressed. I hadn't been able to move since I got home. He didn't come in. I didn't call out to him. The silence in our house that night was deafening. The next few days existed in this strange limbo. We moved around each other like ghosts. Polite. Careful. Isabella came home from my mother's, and we both shifted into parent mode, smiling, playing, maintaining normalcy for her sake. But the moment she was asleep, the walls came back up. He didn't try to explain. I didn't ask. I spent hours lying awake at night, replaying everything I thought I knew about him, about us. I loved him. I still loved him. The man who fixed the speaker at that picnic, who built blanket forts with our daughter, who held me when I was scared, who made me feel safe. But now I'd seen this other version, this person in the royal blue blouse and red polka dot skirt. This person who looked so free, so alive, so completely at peace. Was I betrayed? Or had I just been blind? I pulled up that bikini photo again, the one I'd seen weeks ago. Back then, I'd looked at it with confusion, maybe even judgment. Now, I saw something different. I saw freedom. I saw someone discovering a part of themselves they'd been hiding for God knows how long. Maybe their whole life. And I realized something painful. In all our years together, I'd never seen Paul look that happy. I don't have an ending for this story yet, because I'm still living in the middle of it. Maybe every person carries a version of themselves they're too afraid to show the world. Maybe we all have rooms inside us we keep locked, because we're terrified of what people will think if they see what's inside. Maybe what I saw that night wasn't deception. It was discovery, but I don't know how to move forward. I don't know what tomorrow looks like for us. I don't know if I'm angry or hurt or confused or all three. I don't know if this changes everything or if it changes nothing. All I know is that love looks different than I thought it did. So I'm asking you, yes, you, watching this right now. If you were in my shoes, what would you have done differently? How do you respond when you discover that the person you love has been living a double life? Not out of lust or greed or cruelty, but out of longing. Out of a need to be themselves? How do you hold space for someone else's truth when it shatters your understanding of your own reality? I'll be reading every comment, because right now I don't have answers, I just have questions. And maybe, somewhere in your responses, I'll find the perspective I need to take the next step. Thank you for watching this story to the end, for sitting with me in this complicated, beautiful moment. If this touched something in you, whether it's your own experience or someone you love, or just a reminder that identity and truth are never as simple as they seem, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the Gender Diary family. We share stories about transformation, discovery, and the complicated landscapes of love and identity. Real stories. Honest stories. Stories that remind us we're all just trying to figure out who we are and how to love each other through it. Drop your country and the time you're watching from in the comments. And tell me, if love and secrecy collided in your life like this, what would your heart choose? I'm Samantha. And wherever you are in your own journey, I hope you find the courage to be honest. With others. And with yourself. Thank you for being here. The end.
The Gender Diary exists to light that path with shared stories. Whether you found connection in this narrative, you're on your own journey of gender exploration, or you're here seeking understanding, Your subscription fuels our mission. Every subscriber empowers us to keep illuminating these authentic experiences for our community. Kindly drop a comment below. Your voice adds to the tapestry of experiences that makes this space meaningful. Until our next story unfolds.